pretty much like clockwork, we start every season by taking a look into opening day, and then the very next episode, we take a look at the prospects. That's pretty much how I like to start every single year, and then from there, it kind of just depends on the storylines. But the first two episodes of every season are pretty much going to be the exact same, and today we get a first look at the prospects we have playing down in Double-A. Before we get into the prospect games, let's see what the status of the organization is prospect-wise. And we have the number 1, 2, and 3 prospects in the league. As I said last year, I would have Jan over Pete Good. He's one less potential, but he's got a bunch higher overall. Now, I am recording this part of the episode at the end of the month, so you'll see some upgrades already happening, whereas these upgrades probably hadn't taken effect for the game that we'll be watching, as it is their debut of the season for some of these guys, our Double-A guys at least. But having the top 3 prospects in baseball is really, really awesome. I don't think Jan and Fink will be considered prospects for much longer, but Pete Good, I think, definitely still has some time to grow. They have his MLB ETAs next year. I think that is not going to happen. I'd say 2029 is probably the earliest, maybe even 2030 for a guy like Pete Good. But 2027 for both Fink and Jan would make a lot of sense. The highest rated non-Pirates prospect is closer Miguel Valenzuela, who is an awesome player, 75 overall at 18 years old with A potential. Great closer, about as low of control as you're ever going to see, but other than that, awesome. And then you have another closer here for the Marlins. The Brewers have one of the top prospects in baseball in Frederick Gonzalez. So that's fun, a nice division player. And then Julio Macias in here as a top 10 prospect in baseball as well. He's currently my favorite non-Pirates prospect in baseball. And at this point, after just 2 drafts, you have to go all the way down to 49 to get the first real player in the top 100 prospects list. Now, that's partially because a lot of the best prospects from the game started have now become MLB players. So that's part of the reason, but it's still insane the way it goes. I don't agree with the way that this game does the prospects. I don't think a 53 overall with A potential should be rated higher than a Buford Kingman, who's a 75 overall with B potential, in my opinion. If I had to rank our prospects right now, it'd be 1 Fink, 2 Jan, 3 Good, and that's tier 1. Honestly, you could even say Fink and Jan are tier 1 and Pete Good's tier 2 by himself. Then probably Brown. All of the outfielders right next to each other. Brown, Kingman, and Ponce. And then I'd probably go to Sweeney and Termarr Johnson. And then I'd go to the pitchers Mosqueda, Womack, Drake, and Lynn and Gomez. And then I'd go to McCarty and Enright. They're just so far away. This has 2030 MLB ETA. I'm thinking like 2031 or 2032 if they develop at a solid pace, you know what I mean? So not something that I'm expecting them to be MLB ready anytime soon. But the point of the matter is Robinson Brown, I think, is just outside of the top 50. And Bubba Chandler at the start of the year was also on this list. He was in the same, I think he was right above Brown, if I'm not mistaken. So we're talking about like roughly one every 6 prospects in the top 50 is a Pittsburgh Pirate, and it's really weighted heavily at the top. We have 5 of the top 8 prospects in baseball as it's ranked by the game. Again, maybe not how I would rank them, but it is what it is. Robert Lockett here. He has not been added to the 40-man roster yet. I thought the White Sox might add him to that, so he's technically a tradable player, which is something to see. Now, he could be added to the 40-man roster, I think, at any minute. He's already losing some power and some discipline this year, unfortunately for him. But that is something to monitor. He's probably number one on my trade target list since he's not on the 40-man roster, with Julio Macias as the number 2 target there. But with our farm system already so healthy, I don't know that we need to be thinking about trading for more prospects at this point, as I would love to see if we get somebody with a similar skill set to either of these guys in the draft instead and not have to use one of our outside assets on them. I also want to take some time to go over the training. I know everybody likes to see what I'm doing with the training for our prospects, but with Chandler, I guess not technically a prospect anymore, but we're still working on his per 9s. We have Pete Good, who we continue to work on his pitching clutch. Ray Drake, the same. These guys are not supposed to be on auto. I don't know why they are. I definitely took them off of auto. So we want pitching clutch here. Oh, I see. I just went until I found pitching clutch, and it turns out that's where it was on auto. That's why it ended up being on auto. So we're working on per 9s here and pitching clutch here for our 2 long-term prospects. In terms of Mosqueda, once again, I think... No, this one I did change. So I must have exited out without saving after I did some of this training. But pitching clutch here for Mosqueda. So I guess I'm going to be setting these with all of you guys because, yeah, they're all on auto, which is not where they're supposed to be. So we're going to go with per 9s here for Bob Gomez. I also want to look at making sure we are on pitching clutch for James Waylock. Catcher, I'm still going to stick on combination toss for David Yan. I want to make sure that that arm gets trained up. We saw on opening day, if you don't have a good arm behind the plate at catcher, you're going to get stolen bases pretty much all the time. Termar, I think we're going to switch over to power with him. Albert Sweeney, I think the same thing. I already did this before, but it just didn't save. Billy Fink, we're going to have on base running drills. You guys didn't let me train his stealing before, so we're going to train his stealing now. Just kidding. We are going to train his arm. That is where we'll be training Billy Fink. Left field, Pedro Ponce. I think training his power makes some sense. Brown, it will be on his arm. And Buford Kingman will continue his power training. All right, so let's hop in and get that first look at the AA prospects, starting here with Pete Good, who for the second consecutive year will be the pitcher for our first AA game of the season. He improved 3 overall last year, maybe a little bit under what I was hoping. Was hoping maybe for a 4 or 5 overall increase from him, but he's still by far is the best pitching prospect in the organization right now, especially if you exclude Bubba Chandler, since he's now playing for the big league squad. Has a good first inning here. Batting at leadoff, like he's pretty much tailor-made to do, is Robinson Brown, and just like that, his first hit is aboard a single. Not going to see a ton of power from Robinson Brown, but the plate skills are there, the contact and the speed are there in a very major way. Pedro Ponce, a little bit more well-rounded in his skill set, gets a high pitch here, floats it to center field. He won't be as lucky as Brown here. Now, there has been some discussion about whether it's going to be Robinson Brown or Robinson Braun. Now, I will say the announcer announces his name as Robinson Braun, as Billy Fink gets his first plate appearance. Table that for a moment here. Fink aboard, and with his speed, that could be an RBI triple. Brown slides safely into home plates. And Billy Fink, I mean, the speed on the base pass here is electric. 2 guys with 90-plus speed able to turn that hit into right field into an RBI triple. But back to the discussion of Braun versus Brown here. I personally like Brown better, but if the announcer's going to pronounce his name as Braun in game, it might make more sense for me to match that. I was quote unquote corrected in saying that it should be Braun, whereas I have seen that spelling be Brown in the past, i.e., the Denver Nuggets player Christian Brown has his name spelt the same as Robinson for us, but I was planning on it being Brown, but I might want to match it up with the announcer. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think, which one we should use here, as Pete Good has another good inning on the mound. Back up again for the third inning as none of our prospects hit in the second. Chopper here by Ignofo. That is the 7th consecutive out for Pete Good. This one left over the middle a bit, but that allows Robinson a chance to show off a little bit of the speed over in center field. Having a center fielder with some awesome range into the future is going to be really cool for us. Assuming he sticks there, I can also see Robinson Braun. Maybe I'll pronounce it Braun for the rest of this episode, see if I like it. Having that sort of speed could be nice. He also might end up in left field if O'Neal Cruz ends up turning it around and becoming a long-time player for us. I'm becoming less and less confident each and every episode, and that ending up being the case. But I'm never going to say never here, as Pedro Ponce is now 0-2 on the day. That'll bring up Billy Fink for the second time, tripled his first time, struck out. Swiping out a high fastball here on the second plate appearance. High in the zone, Kevin Arellano flies out to right field. That is 10 consecutive outs. Make it 11 here as long as we can get the easy play made in the outfield once more. Not the strikeout guy, but he's doing a great job so far of getting that soft contact. He does so again here for the 4th consecutive shutout inning. Can he keep it going here? The hit. First hit of the game is on the board for Romero, so not going to be a no-hitter. That would have been pretty insane. Still, of course, has a chance to keep it scoreless. Goes from the single to the walk, though. Can he get out of this jam? Ponce able to track down the liner over to left for the first out of the inning. Can we get a double play? Ignofo down, looking at the slider, called for strike 3. He doesn't like the call. I can definitely see why he wouldn't love it so much. But I certainly do. Back-to-back strikeouts to end the 5th inning. Pete Good is honestly looking a lot better than he did last season when we hopped into the Double-A game, and he didn't even look half bad in that game. Robinson Braun on board again with another single. Can Pedro Ponce get his first minor league hit here in the episode? Not going to happen here. Easy ground out for him. 0-3 now. Pete Good ended last inning on back-to-back strikeouts at a 3rd straight to it here to kick off the 6th. Up to 80 pitches now. This will likely be his final inning here, but there you have another one. I just barely talked about how this guy's not much of a strikeout pitcher, and now he has 4 straight strikeouts. Can he make it 5? Yes, he can. The slider for 5 consecutive strikeouts. That would be the end of the day for Good, but what an awesome way to finish the game. 5 straight punch-outs. Billy Fink hits that one pretty well, but unable to find a gap. So just 1 hit so far today for him. Bottom of the 8th now. Robinson Braun. 2 singles today, and that's what he'll stick with. Ponce Last chance here, likely, unless we go to extras to get a hit. Not going to happen here. The sweeper. Could not find it well, and that's going to be the end of the game. We wouldn't even get another at-bat for Billy Fink. Maybe the one time I've actually wished for a blown save so we could get an extra at-bat from at least Billy Fink in the lineup. But Pete Good was ultra impressive. We got a couple of hits from Brown, and now we're going to watch a little bit extra Billy Fink here in this game. One hit just wasn't enough. I got to see this guy play some more. Generational infielder. He's the talk of many Pittsburgh Pirates fans, just waiting for the day that he gets called up. And what the pace will be for calling him up, both from AA to AAA, then from AAA to the league, will be dependent on his production, first and foremost. Last year when we drafted a generational player, he ended up making his debut in September of that season. As long as Billy Fink can get some production, I feel like we could see a very similar kind of timeline from him. I like it in that first season. You can get some pretty big boosts if you mash in AA, which he should, and then mash in AAA as well. You can get some really nice boosts ahead of getting to the MLB, still getting that MLB debut in year one, not having to use that year of MLB service time as well. So you get all those upgrades pretty much when it comes to MLB service time, at least for free. And then we could talk about extending him early. I know for other players so far in this series, I wanted to see it before I try and extend them. And O'Neal Cruz is a perfect example of why. I feel like maybe we could have considered extending O'Neal Cruz on the promise of him being better, like we did with Paul Skenes back in off-season 1. Decided not to, wanted to see it first, and I think that's been very much so to our benefit so far, as now it's looking like his time with Pittsburgh is very limited. But for a generational prospect, I'm not quite as concerned about seeing it before I extend him. I want to get that contract underway if I can to save some money, because this guy's going to be so expensive. I'm also so confident he'll be good, despite the fact that maybe he struggled in spring and also just struggled in this game we just watched. So let's watch another one. Can't end a prospect showcase on a hitless game. That's just not going to work for me. Down to 143. Just a 2-game sample, of course, so no conclusions to draw there. But the spring struggles are no concern of mine. I mean, I think it helps give some merit as to why we're not just getting him to the MLB right off the rip, as he will get a base knock here. That should be extras as well, easily with his speed. The question with Fink is more of how often is he going to try to turn for 3 and turn these outfield hits into a triple. Not going to be here as he hit it into left field. Imagine. And, of course, will more be the case when he hits it over in the right field. But showing off some good extra base hitting so far, the second one of the episode. The bases are juiced here. Bottom of the second. Can we see him do something special? Number 1 prospect in baseball. So much hype. Go ahead and show us something here. No, he's going to swing at the pitch outside the zone. The force out of second gets us out of the inning. I really wanted a grand slam there, but that's obviously something that's much, much easier said than done. Got a pitch over the middle here that he'll get underneath. But that's pretty much the timeline. I think I want to get him roughly 100, 150 at-bats at AA, and if he does really well with those, I imagine at that point we call him up to AAA. And if he can match there as well, I mean, you can get some really good upgrades going kind of at that pace. If you ask me, that's the kind of call-up schedule that I've seen work really well with upgrades here. Is we'll get the tying run driven in by Fink here in the 7th. Just a single. Although he probably could have gone 2 if he wasn't held back from it by the guy staying at second. But a clutch moment there for Fink. All of a sudden, the curve with a big lead after that. So Fink helped get the run going, the rally going for the curve. And now there's a big lead, but he has another RBI opportunity here. Falling behind the count, though, 0-2. He will strike out. Swinging inside on the fastball there. Couple of good games here for Billy Fink in the showcase. Seeing him drive in a couple runs. We saw a triple, saw a double, saw a clutch RBI single. The expectations are sky high for Billy Fink. And speaking of sky high expectations, let's go ahead and take a AAA look at David Yan as well. We've seen prospects 1 and 2 in the organization. How about number 3 in David Yan? Let's get maybe a game or 2 on the board for him. I thought he showed us something in spring. He kind of had a tale of two halves in spring training. Really good start to it, to the point where it maybe would have been tempting to just stick him on the big league squad had he been able to keep it up. But slowed down a bit and got to the point where I wanted him to be here, starting off in AAA. And I would say my expectation for him is also to make his debut either in August or September. I might want to split up the debuts just so we can get, extra gameplay this season. One having a David Yan debut, the other having a Billy Fink debut. I'm also not opposed to debuting them together. It's just, extra content maybe if we do them separately. But with him, I think, just like with Billy Fink, if we could do it in a way where he doesn't earn that year of MLB service time, I'd be super happy. He's another guy that I'd consider giving him that extension before we even really see it. I'm that confident in David Yan's ability to produce. He's produced pretty much every opportunity he's had so far. And so I do believe, and I have a lot of high hopes and expectations that will continue once he becomes a full-time MLB player. It honestly kind of depends on the price. There's a certain price point where I'm like, no, I need to see it before I give you, 8-9 years at that price. But if it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $10-12 million and we can call him up and extend him right away, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But of course, I do want to hear the comments section, your opinions on it. Should we keep the same approach that we've seen with our other players, where we want to make sure that we see it before we extend it? Or do we want to try to get out ahead of it? It's going to save us a lot of time. Not a lot of time, but a lot of money doing so. Because every single year that you wait, of course, the value you get for signing the extension early gets less and less and less. And so with our budget and, of course, us spending 2 pretty big contracts last season that weren't short-term by any means, 4 and 6 years, getting some contracts in as cheap as we can be would certainly be beneficial to the cap. But those do, of course, come with risk. Another game here for David Yan. After not having too much to show for it in the first one. Let's see if we can get something going here. That will not be down for a hit. Come on, dude. Do we really need to see a diving play in center field in AAA? Come on, man. You got to be kidding me. That grounder there will end the third. Bottom of the fifth now. That's going to be a worm burner through that right infield gap as Tamar Johnson advances to second. Another guy who's not so far away. We have so many hitters that are so close that within a couple of seasons, our Pirates lineup is going to look so incredibly different. And I think it's going to be so much more exciting as well. The offense has really held this team back in the first 2 seasons. But I think even as soon as by the end of this year, the offense will have gotten some major progress towards catching up. I'm so excited to see what kind of progress we can see from David Young, Billy Fink, and others that we won't even get to see in this episode. I've been considering maybe doing an in-season stream at some point to catch some of these prospects, because now there's so many that it's hard to get all in one episode. The way I'm doing my members-only content this year, where I'm showing my weekly kind of behind-the-scenes decisions for the scouting, it's hard to do a stream like that before the draft, but maybe like a month of August thing. We could do a stream where we hop into some critical situations, we hop into some prospect games and stuff, maybe to start the month of August. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'm also not opposed, of course, to keeping maybe the live streams for this series strictly to spring training. I know not everybody loves live streams, but you'll have to let me know on that, as Jan can't make the most of this walk-off opportunity here. The Indians would end up getting the victory, and that's the end of our prospect spotlights. Pirates would finish the month of April and the first game of May with a record of 16-18, hovering just below that 500 marker here, which is kind of where I expected us to be. Our first stats update, who's kind of contributing and who was falling short in the start of Season 3. Paul Skenes off to a really strong start to the season with 40 strikeouts and 42 innings, 2.57 ERA, 1.02 WHIP, which would be his lowest since we started this rebuild here in the game, should he keep it up. Jazz Chisholm hitting for an average of 258, already has 9 homers on the year, though. He's absolutely hitting some dingers. His OPS is up above 800, which it would be for the first time since 2022, if he could keep that up. So far, I think that signing is working. I don't know if he'll keep up this home run rate. It's higher than he's been at 14 at-bats per home run here. Jarrett Jones, man, another struggling start to the season here. 5.3 ERA, 1.29 WHIP. He needs to turn it around. I mean, how long of a leash are we going to give this guy? We've been talking about potentially moving on from other players, but this is a guy who just has not performed for us so far. Need him to turn it around. O'Neal Cruz hitting just above 207. He once again is regressing, and we're looking at a player whose days with the Pirates are certainly numbered at this point if he can't turn things around. Not the start he wanted. 5 homers and a 284 average for Brian Reynolds. 805 on the OPS here. He has 25 strikeouts to... Oh, that was stolen bases here, not walks. Okay. I thought it was 25-5 here. Mitch Keller once again showing out strong here to start the year, as he always does. Billy Fink on a hot streak right now, up to 6 homers already and a 340 average. Already with a +4 to his power versus lefties. Over 1,000 on the OPS. Yeah, I think his days in Double-A are certainly numbered. He's nearing 100 at-bats. I think as soon as sometime in the month of May, next episode, he could be already getting the promotion up to Triple-A if he can have another strong couple of weeks here at that spot. Jojo Romero, up to 12 saves on the year, just 1 blown so far. That's something that we're going to take for sure. Really high walk rate, which could be something to look out for, but he has not yet allowed a home run, which will certainly help. Jesus Luzardo, -3 hits per 9. Jeez. Are you sure he has earned -3 hits per 9 pitching the way he has already this season? I don't know about that, but there it is. Victor Robles has a few homers, but is also hitting over 300 for us. The OPS is at 770. So I think our free agent signings are all honestly playing pretty well, which is, I think, a driving force towards us being closer to that 500 mark. Willie Castro has regressed in his numbers and in his ratings. Oof, rough start for Yohan Oviedo. Nick Gonzalez not doing too hot. Carmen Majinski in his first 9 innings has yet to allow a run. Excellent start for him. David Yan in AAA, 333 with 2 homers so far. 4.18 ERA with 1.14 WHIP. Honestly, not bad stuff for your fifth pitcher there, making his MLB debut season. Spencer Horwitz, he's regressing apparently, but the numbers aren't terrible for him. Albert Sweeney, 214 average with 3 homers so far, continues to regress against right-handed pitching, man. This is really concerning me for Albert Sweeney. He has not developed right-handed pitching at all. Still very early on in this season, though. James Waylock, pretty solid stuff here from him. Already getting solid increases to his walks and his home runs per 9. Buford Kingman got the promotion up to AAA to start the year, and I think he's doing pretty solidly with it. A 780 OPS there. Not a great start to the season for Josh Bell. Termarr Johnson, currently on a cold streak, unfortunately, but has hit 4 homers so far. Looks like he's really hitting lefties well so far this season, which I love how the game always does this. Like, he's a left-handed batter. He should be progressing against right-handed pitching, but he progresses better against lefts. He did that last year, too. It's something I saw all the time in my Rockies franchise. They progress the opposite way that you would think somebody would progress. It's just so weird, but hey, it is what it is. Oh, rough start to the season for Pedro Ponce. He is pretty much regressing across the board as a hitter. -3 contact versus right already. He's certainly hoping to get things going here. Richard Lynn has been excellent. 12 strikeouts in 13 innings. Sub-1 in both ERA and WHIP. Mosqueda, not quite so good. Acquired him in a trade, and I skipped over him, so I'm just going to look for him here. Robinson Brown has his first minor league home run, also hitting over 300 at a 313 average there. Has 6 steals on the board already, developing some power against lefties. That one home run I'm going to guess that was against a lefty there. So there you have it. That's kind of our first initial update here of the season. We're seeing some guys produce at really nice levels. We're also definitely seeing some disappointments as well, which of course you expect to see a mix of both every season. But I feel like at least in the hitters, we're having more productive players than we've seen in these team updates in the first couple of seasons, which I love to see. And it's really Reynolds, Chisholm, and I think Robles who are probably 3 best hitters on the team right now. 2 of those guys we just added in free agency. You love to see it. That's all I've got here for the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back, probably paying some more attention to the Major League squad in the next episode. I'll see you then. Let's go Bucks.